You took your first breath in a dim factory on the outskirts of Izmir, Turkey. Not a fancy factory, not a clean one. Think flickering fluorescent lights, the smell of raw neoprene and chemical adhesive hanging in the air like a bad decision. Machines pressing, molding, cutting, workers moving fast. Too fast. And you just appeared. A bright orange foam vest with plastic buckles and a thin nylon shell. Freshly stamped. Ready for the world. Bad news, my friend. Your life started in impossible mode. You weren't made by some Swiss precision outfit that supplies coast guards and luxury yachts. You were made to be cheap. Dirt cheap. You cost about $6 to produce. 6. And you'll be sold for 30 or 40 to someone who has absolutely no other choice. Welcome to the business of desperation. Anyway, you survived your first few days in a plastic-wrapped bundle, stacked in a warehouse with 100 others just like you. No logos, no certifications from any recognized maritime safety body. A label in bad English that says, for adults, 70 kilograms max. You don't know yet what 70 kilograms feels like in Blackwater at 3 a.m. You should. Your first real moment came quickly. A man, let's call him Ibrahim, picked you out of a pile. He was 34, an engineer from Aleppo. He'd survived 5 years of what humans politely call the conflict. He paid 40 euros for you. 40 euros was, at that point, almost everything he had left. He held you up in the bad light of a rented basement room, squeezed your foam, tugged your buckles, and nodded, like you'd passed some kind of test. You hadn't. But he didn't know that. By the way, here's a fact that should make everyone deeply uncomfortable. Between 2015 and 2016 alone, over 1 million people crossed the Aegean Sea in small inflatable boats, most of them wearing cheap, uncertified life jackets just like you. The UNHCR estimated that in some crossings, up to 40% of the vests people wore were counterfeit, filled with the wrong type of foam, or worse, packed with materials like sawdust and packing pellets that actually absorbed water. Let me say that again slowly. Sawdust. In a life jacket, sold to a drowning person. But listen, we're not here to point fingers at this exact moment. Back to you. Ibrahim strapped you on in the dark at 4 a.m. on a beach that had no name on any map he'd ever seen. 43 other people were already in the boat. A rubber dinghy meant for maybe 20. The smuggler, and that charming Gudabet, collected phones, watches, anything waterproof, for safekeeping. He did not keep them safe. He also told everyone the crossing would take 40 minutes. It took 3 hours. Congrats. You made it to the Aegean Sea. The first wave hit the boat sideways. People lurched, a child screamed, someone vomited, and you were being clutched so hard by Ibrahim that your cheap buckle actually bent slightly out of shape. Not a great sign, but here you both were, doing your best, in freezing dark water, in October. I mean, let's be honest, you were never built for this. You were built for the idea of this, for the shelf, for the photo that made someone feel better about buying a ticket onto a rubber raft in the middle of the night. You were theater, dressed up as safety, and yet, you had one job. Keep Ibrahim's head above water if everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. The boat listed, then capsized. One moment there were 44 people in a raft. The next, there were 44 people in the sea. Wait. Stop for a second. Are we really doing this? A $6 foam vest in the middle of the Mediterranean, carrying the weight of an entire war on its chest? Yeah, we are. That's exactly what we're doing. Anyway, you worked. Barely. Your foam was low grade, your buoyancy off spec, and the water temperature was 9 degrees Celsius. But you worked enough. Ibrahim's head stayed up. He grabbed someone's arm, a woman, a stranger, a neighbor from a country that no longer existed for either of them. They kicked. They screamed. A Coast Guard vessel found them 40 minutes later. 43 of the 44 survived. By the way, here's a fact that the shipping industry would rather you not focus on. The Mediterranean Sea has been called the world's deadliest migration route. Since 2014, more than 28,000 people are recorded as dead or missing in its waters. Recorded. The actual number is believed to be higher. Each one of those people was wearing something, or nothing. Some were wearing vests exactly like you, and still didn't make it because the foam wasn't right. The buckle failed or the water was simply too cold for too long. Congrats. You made it to a Greek island. The Coast Guard cut you off Ibrahim's body the moment he was pulled aboard. Standard procedure. You were placed in a pile with other recovered vests. Some from that crossing, some from crossings before it. There was a mountain of you. Orange, blue, red, at the harbor's edge. People had photographed that mountain. It had been in newspapers. You didn't know that. You were just wet and cold and bent. After that, you were confiscated. Tagged as evidence, stored, forgotten. You spent 8 months in a shipping container on a dock. You aged in there. The foam degraded slowly. The nylon yellowed. The plastic buckles, already stressed, became brittle. Nobody came. The container smelled like salt and mold and old disaster. Eventually, a journalist photographed the container. An NGO wrote a report. A politician gave a speech. Nothing changed. But the container was eventually cleared, and you, along with several hundred others, were sent to a processing facility. You weren't repaired. You weren't tested. You were compressed into a bale and sent to a recycling plant in Bulgaria where a machine ate you in about 4 seconds. 4 seconds. That's your ending, my friend. $6 in, 4 seconds out, and somewhere in between, a man named Ibrahim is alive in Stuttgart, working as a translator for a refugee aid organization. He has a daughter now. He named her Lara. He doesn't think about you much. Why would he? You were a vest. A cheap, badly made, barely functional vest. And yet, you were the difference between Lara existing and Lara not existing. Between one small life happening and not happening. The world is funny like that. The most important things are sometimes the cheapest, most disposable, most overlooked things in the pile. The things nobody photographs until they're in a mountain on a dock, a monument to decisions nobody made and problems nobody solved. You did your job, imperfectly, barely, in the worst possible conditions, with the worst possible materials for the highest possible stakes. That's more than enough. Sleep well. See you in the next life. Until then, Silent Witness is out.